We're the indie project Bee and Theo, and we've been living and travelling the world in vans for the past 6 years. We're currently renovating an abandoned stone barn in Portugal to turn into a beautiful tiny home for us and our cats Ginjey Bear and Furrnando. Follow our journey from the very beginning as we document the whole process of creating an off-grid home.
Good morning guys, welcome back to a brand new video here from a kind of sunny Birmingham. I think the sun is actually going to come out. It's going to be a nice day. And you guys have been throwing questions at me left, right and centre. So I thought what would be a cool video concept is if I jump in the car, drive around Birmingham and show you guys the sights, like where me and Bee first met, where my office was, where we grew up, all them different things. So stay tuned. I'm going to jump in the car right now and get this Q&A video started. So I'm actually really excited to make this video, and right now I'm in the car and I'm heading across the city, probably about a 10-minute drive to where me and Bee grew up. We grew up in a really similar area actually, which is really funny because when we first met we actually only lived about probably a 5 or 10 minute walk from each other's houses. The first question I'm going to answer is, if you didn't live in Portugal and you didn't choose Portugal to live, where would you decide to settle down and buy a place? And well, first of all, I can't pick one place. I would say it's got to be somewhere like the Scandinavian countries, and I know Finland isn't necessarily in Scandinavia, but probably Finland, Sweden, Norway, America or Canada. They're kind of like our top places where we'd like to live. So as a teenager, I spent a lot of time walking down this road on my way to a place called Moseley, where all the cool people hung out, and I definitely wasn't one of them cool people. So the next question is, are you planning to move back to the UK? And that's a definite no. We have no plans to come back to the UK and live here ever again in our lives. We've just seen so much of the world, and to be honest, the weather does play a big part in that. We've got some amazing friends now over in Portugal, and that's not to say that we will live in Portugal for the rest of our lives. I'm sure we'll go and live in some other countries, and that's the great thing about the world is your oyster, and we can go to as many different places as we want, and we really like mixing things up, and we like change, and we like seeing new places. So who knows where we will end up in the world. This place is bringing back lots of memories. Over here is a nice little river that runs through, and you can actually drive through here. It's called a ford. And I used to always see when I was a kid cars getting stuck in here and having to be towed out. Even cars would get washed under that bridge in the winter time when the levels were a lot higher. The sun's trying to come out, which is really nice. And right now I'm standing in the park, which is by the house where I grew up. So I spent a lot of time in this park playing cricket, playing football and hanging out with friends. And basically the next question I'm trying to get onto is about Portugal and the barn. Someone asked, is the new barn door ready? So I don't know if you guys know, but we've had a custom made wooden front door. It's absolutely massive, made for the barn. I can't wait to see it. And apparently it's nearly ready. They're just waiting for the double glazing to come through, and then we can fit it and have tons of light flooding into the barn. So the next question is really simple, and it's, when are you going back to Portugal? And the answer for that is really soon. We booked a ferry like I mentioned in the last video, and we've got a lot of stuff to get done before we can go back, but we're ticking the things off day by day, and before you know it, in a couple of videos time we will be back in Portugal and working on the barn again, and I couldn't be more excited. So just up here is the house that I actually grew up in. So I'll just drive past it. It's this house here. So that is where I grew up. Crazy. Brings back a lot of memories. And actually the school is at the top of the road, and that's the secondary school that I went to. And it was always quite annoying that I lived on the same road, because if I was late for school, they'd be like, well, you live on the road, how can you be late? So another Portuguese related question, and that is all about the truck. And is the truck fixed? Have we got it back yet? And obviously we left the country and the truck was still in the mechanics, and as far as we know, it's still in the mechanics. But I've got lots of information coming about the truck for you guys when we get back to Portugal, because you know, it's been a couple of months and we'd like to get that truck back working, back on the road, or back on the land. You know, it's so useful using that truck around the land, and I've really missed it. We've got the car obviously, which is great for going around the city, but I wouldn't want to use this too much on the land because you'll just end up destroying it. Whereas the truck, you can drive it through anything and you can throw things in the back of it, and it's just great to have on an off-grid property. So it's currently lunchtime, so I just jumped into Greg's to get myself some food, and now I gotta go and find somewhere to eat it. Got myself a tuna crunch baguette. That's what I'd always get for lunch when I worked in the city. So I've just found a nice quiet location to enjoy my lunch, and the next question I'm gonna answer is about the cats. So one of you said, how are Ginjey and Furrnando getting on living with my parents? And actually, they're really enjoying it. My mum sends me video updates and photos every single day, so it's nice to feel like we're still connected with the cats. And before you know it, they'll be back in Portugal living the dream. My mum also takes Furrnando out on a lead probably about 3 times a day, so he's having a lot of fun outside. And Ginjey, she just goes and does whatever she wants, but Furrnando, we keep him on the lead because we all know he's a little bit of a wild card. I've finished my lunch and now I am back on the road heading to the area that Bee grew up. So the next question comes from somebody on Instagram who says, when are we going to be moving into the barn, and when is the barn going to be completely finished? There's a couple of answers for this one, but the first answer is we're hoping to move into the barn conversion for Christmas, which is very exciting because it means we can decorate it for the festive period and make it really nice, have our own little Christmas tree, so that's going to be fun. And when is the barn going to be completely finished? We're not sure when it's going to be completely finished. It will be livable by Christmas, but completely finished, it doesn't really matter. We can take our time, and we really want to finesse every single detail so it's the best possible home we can create. So I'm just on the road where Bee was living with her mom and her sister when I first met her. It's this house just here. Used to have really nice wooden windows, and this area is not so nice, to be honest, and that's why her mom moved. So I'm currently just stuck in traffic in a place called Sparkhill on the Stratford Road that goes all the way from Birmingham to Stratford. And when I was getting the number 6 bus back home from the city centre when I was a teenager, a group of men came on the bus, surrounded me, put a knife to me and demanded that I hand over my phone and my wallet. So growing up in a place like Birmingham, in a city, in England, was quite a rough experience sometimes. It's definitely very character building, and it's made me who I am today. And the next question that I'm going to answer is, where did me and Bee first meet? So right now I'm going to drive to that exact location of where we first met. So now I'm just driving through a place called Moseley Village, and this is where I'd spend a lot of time with my mates. And now I'm on a road called Woodbridge Road, and this is nearby where me and Bee met for the first time. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Squarespace, who has sponsored today's video. They've been long-time supporters of our channel and we're massive fans of their online platform that is super easy to build and design your very own website. There's a whole host of handy features that help you create your website which is perfect for your needs, as well as having plenty of tools to make your website work for you, with a number of different themes to choose from which can be customized to your liking. You'll have your own website up and running in no time. A couple of things that I really like about our Squarespace website is, one, the analytics. It means that I can get really geeky and dive deep into the analytics and see whereabouts in the world you guys are visiting our website from. And another one is being able to host our shop on there. It means that we can upload new products really easily and keep up to date with everything that's being sold. So if you'd like to create your very own professional looking website, then click the link in our description or go to squarespace.com/indieprojects and get a 2-week free trial and 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. So you guys are probably gonna think that where we met was super romantic and in a really nice environment, but actually it's the complete opposite. Let me show you. So this is it, just here. These are the garages in Moseley, or they used to be the garages, and this never used to be here. It was never gated, it was never fenced, so we used to spend a lot of time here with my mates just hanging out. Unfortunately I can't get through there, but there's nothing much to see, just a caravan and some camper vans and some cars. But there used to be garages that went all the way along here. So I remember the situation really clearly. I was with a group of friends at the garages and Bee turned up with a group of friends, and as soon as I saw her I knew how beautiful she was. So I managed to track down her number and I sent her a message that evening, and then we started meeting up and we started going out, and I'm so happy that I did send her that message, because now we've been together for 16 years and she's the most gorgeous person I've ever met in my life. So Moseley is known for its absolutely beautiful, huge old houses. I mean, just look at this. It's so nice. I'd definitely like to own something like that in the future, but maybe not quite here. The car's parked just over the road here. I'm gonna jump in it and head into the city centre. And the next question is all about what I used to do for a living. So it's about a 10 or 15 minute drive into the city centre if the traffic's good, and I'll show you the office where I used to run my company out of. There's lots of traffic around, so it might take a while to get into the city centre. So the next question is all about whether me and Bee owned a property before we went traveling here in the UK. But no, we didn't. We just rented a place. We were young and we were free and we didn't have enough money to buy a house, so we rented an apartment nearby a lovely park called Cannon Hill Park, and we actually go past there on the way to my office in the city centre, or my old office. So I'm going to show you that now on the way. And I'm very close to that apartment right now, so I'm going to show you where we used to live just before we went travelling. So this is it, guys. This is the apartment block where me and Bee used to live, although we were just around the corner. So I'm going to show you the exact location. So if you come down this road, we were on the 3rd floor at the back, overlooking the courtyard, and down there you drive down and there's some underground parking. But it's actually a really nice apartment block. It was only a small, tiny 1-bedroom apartment, but what you have just here is an amazing park called Cannon Hill Park, and this is where I used to spend a lot of time. We had some pretty good times in this apartment, and it's in a great location with good access to the park, but also to the city centre where my office was. but we had some really annoying loud neighbours, which is probably why we live in the middle of nowhere right now. Like I say, it was really nice to have this park on our doorstep. It's got a really nice river running along it, and this building here is called the MAC, the Midlands Arts Centre, and I used to spend a lot of time here as well as a kid doing various different things because they used to put on workshops for children. But it's a really nice building, and I'm going to show you a little bit around the park. So this is a really good question. What made you choose an unconventional life? And I think I've always been a little bit different and always wanted to travel and see the world and live in a different way. And I became fascinated with tiny home living and living in small spaces and then building things. I just absolutely love it. So our off-grid place in Portugal is the perfect setup because it's got everything. I can spend my days building our home, but also we're in a remote area in the middle of nowhere, and we've got peace and quiet and nature. It's just lovely. So the park is actually the busiest I've ever seen it, but like I said, this is the Midlands Arts Centre building. It's really cool, and I've just noticed this. How nice is this? I really like it. And also this fencing over here is beautiful. They've just let the metal rust, and the design is really cool as well. That'd be really nice to have something like that on the land. But yeah, there's tons of people here. It's the summer holidays in the UK, and you can see there's some swan boats, a big lake. But this was really nice. Hello, mate. But this was really nice to have on our doorstep. That was great, looking around the old park that used to be right next to where our apartment was. And now I'm going to jump in the car and head into the city centre. The problem is it's now rush hour, so it might take me a while, but it's fine. If I have to sit in traffic for a little bit, I'll just answer some more questions. I'm currently driving around the ring road of the city centre so I don't get stuck in loads of traffic because it's rush hour. But I'm heading to a place called the Jewellery Quarter, and that's where my office was situated. So we're just approaching the centre of the Jewellery Quarter, and I used to spend a lot of time in this place, that's for sure. And right in front of me you can see there's a really nice pub, and then to the left of that pub is the office block that I used to have my office in. And if I get out of the car for a better look, you can see we're met instantly with a jewellery shop, and that's because it's the Jewellery Quarter. This is where loads of jewellery is made, and right up there I had my office with an amazing view over the city. It was actually a really nice place to work because it's not bang in the centre of Birmingham, so you're kind of on the outskirts of the city centre in the Jewellery Quarter, but it means that you can park easily and you don't get stuck in all the traffic right in the centre when you want to go home. Because I used to commute here from the narrowboat where I lived at the time, and that was all the way in Droitwich, so it would take me an hour to drive to the office and an hour to drive back. And I know a lot of you guys are wondering what I actually did for my job, and I ran a video production company out of this building, and I had some really good times actually, but that's where I get my video skills from. I better leave in a minute so I don't get a parking ticket, but my office was somewhere around where my finger is there, and like I mentioned, had a great view looking over the Birmingham city skyline. And sometimes they'd run events at the bottom of here in this kind of courtyard area, which was really nice. They'd have stalls and food and different events going on. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the film Ready Player One, but they actually filmed a lot of the driving scenes and stuff like that literally just down the road from my office. So sometimes on lunch or whatnot, if they were filming something really cool, I'd go and hang out there and watch the production of Ready Player One, which is pretty cool. Okay, so after all of that, I've pretty much ended up right in the heart of the city centre. And the reason for that is I really wanted to show you guys the canal system here in Birmingham city centre. We don't have a river that runs through the centre like most cities, but we do have the canals, and it's really beautiful. And over here you can see there's some city moorings. And this would actually be quite a cool place to moor up your narrowboat. Everything seems to be going back to narrowboats at the moment, but you can see there's some facilities there for the boaters. And it's just in a good location. The city centre is just over there. You can see the Birmingham Library in the distance, right behind that tree, in between these two tower blocks. And the canals in the 18th and the 19th century were actually used like motorways for transferring goods up and down to various different cities. And here's a fun fact for you. There's actually more canals in Birmingham than there is in Venice. Right, so yet again, I'm back at the car and I'm going to do some quick fire questions. So the first one is, do you support, with football, Aston Villa or the Blues? Definitely Aston Villa. That's who I supported the whole time when I was growing up, and still do. Next question is, what kind of stove are you going to install in the barn? We have a beautiful stove to go in the barn, and it's actually one of the things that I'm looking most forward to installing. It's a Jottle stove, and I think they're a Norwegian brand, and we first saw these wood burners or stoves, whatever you want to call them, when we did our 440 kilometer hike through Arctic Sweden, and we were staying in mountain cabins in the middle of nowhere, and they had these stoves and they were amazing, so we had to get one. So the next question is, do you struggle driving a right-hand sided vehicle in Europe? And the short answer is no. And right now I'm on a left-handed side vehicle in the UK where we drive on the left, and usually the steering wheel is on the right. And to be honest, I don't find it any different. There's a few times where you're at certain junctions and you can't quite see as well as you could if the steering wheel was on the other side, but the fact is, I've driven well over 100,000 miles now in various vans and cars on the other side of the road with the steering wheel on the wrong side, so I'm just completely used to it now. Okay, so this is a really interesting question, and this one says, would you ever live in Scotland? And it's interesting because we actually found a piece of land in Scotland in the Isle of Skye that we wanted to buy, but it just wasn't the right time for us. This was many years ago. This is probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago now, and it just wasn't the right time. We didn't have the funds once we'd bought the land to actually build the house that we wanted to build, but it would have been amazing. But yeah, sometimes things just don't work out timing wise, but it's a beautiful place. We absolutely love the Isle of Skye, but now we're kind of like drawn to a slightly sunnier climate maybe. Never say never. I don't think I'd mind living in Scotland. It's just the constant rain's hard to get used to, but maybe somewhere in Canada, in Sweden, Finland, Norway, like I mentioned before, we'd really enjoy living there, I think. And the last question that I'm going to answer is an important one, and it's how's Bee doing? And actually she's doing much better than she was when we were in Portugal. Obviously we came back so that she could get the care that she needed and to be around her family and our friends and have the support network. The thing I will say is, if you see her in up and coming videos, she is doing better, but this is a long process, and just because you might see her smile doesn't mean that she's completely healed and she's completely better. It's going to be a really long road ahead of us, and we've got things in place already that we're thinking about that we're going to do in Portugal to make her life easier and to make her cope better. And Bee will do a video eventually all about what's gone on and what's happened, but it's hard to talk about. It's a very personal thing, and it's not a thing that a lot of people talk about, which is a shame because there's such a stigma attached to it. But hopefully Bee will make a video eventually when she feels up to it, talking about everything, because it runs really deep. It's not one thing, it's not living off grid, it's not being away from family, it's a magnitude of loads of different things. So she would definitely go into it in the future and kind of speak to you guys about the topic and how she's doing. And like I say, she's doing a lot better, and it is really nice to see her smiling again. In fact, she's so much better than she was. She was in a very extremely dark place, like a very dark place, and like I said, we will get into it eventually. I feel also like a little bit better about the whole situation because Bee's feeling better, and obviously sometimes her emotions can go on to me, and I see the person that I love in such a bad way. And this is how the brain works. It's really scary how things can just change at the drop of a hat. But she's back on her feet, she's on the road to recovery, she's doing really well. I'm so proud of her, like massively proud of her. And like I said earlier, she's just an amazing woman. I think all of you guys will agree how amazing Bee is, and obviously you want her back in the videos, but I'm not going to rush her back into the videos, but naturally she will be back in the videos soon, hopefully. And I think I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and learning a little bit more about us, and I just can't wait to get back to Portugal. It's really not long now before we will be back working on the barn again to meet our challenge of being in there by Christmas. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.